Welcome to the Helix webinar series. Today's session, we're going to be covering Helix Agentic AI in Teams. We're going to be focusing on OpsSwarmer. And today joining me are three of our product team. We've got Betty Exu, who is our Principal Product Manager, John Stevens-Hall, our Principal Solutions Marketing Manager, and we've also got Nicholas Owen, a Principal Solution Engineer. Before I hand over to John, who's going to get us started, just a couple of reminders. There's probably going to be a lot of questions today, so if you can put your questions into the Q&A section of Zoom, you'll find that at the bottom of your screen. We should have roughly around 10 to 15 minutes at the end where we will take some of your questions live, but until that time, we will try to answer them during the session today. You will remain muted until towards the end. So with that, John, I'm going to now hand over to you to get us started.
Thanks very much, Samantha. Good to see everybody and good to see that participants count heading northwards as usual for these webinars. So today we are going to be talking about one of our agentic AI investments in the BMC Helix platform. It's one that I really like talking about, OpsSwarmer. Swarming and collaboration is one of those themes that I think is really fascinating, really emerging in large enterprises. So today we're going to look at how we can better enable that collaboration, that spontaneous forming of the right teams for the right problems, especially in complex environments, and how we're bringing agentic AI to truly support that. So it's an exciting one to talk about, I think. The first slide, though, is the usual formality. We are going to be talking about some forward-looking roadmap items today, things that are going to be in the product in future, at least, and those are our intentions. But obviously, what you see in future might actually look a little different. These plans can change, timings can change. So please bear that in mind when we are talking specifically about roadmap content. Agenda today, well, we're going to look at the strategy, the service ops vision, the AI vision that BMC Helix is bringing to the market, and that is now being really very strongly recognized by customers and by analysts. And we'll touch on analysts as part of that introduction. We've got some really exciting news for all of us who are involved with putting these solutions. Then we're going to talk about actually what's coming with our new innovations, what's on the roadmap in this area, and really get you in detail into the OpsSwarmer, which is, as I say, a really exciting Microsoft Teams-based experience for teams to work together with tremendous insights and help from the BMC Helix platform and its AI agents. So that's an exciting one. So we'll look and then more detail into the actual roadmap. So firstly, let's take a look at what our vision is. I think framing this up is really important because we know that we're here to talk about some of the investments in our products, but what I really want to do is frame some of the why. What are the things we're seeing in industry that is really driving these investments that we're making and really pushing this growth of really good AI in service and operations management tooling. So we kind of consider that we're in the third era of AI, really. We started decades ago, and that was with traditional machine learning AI. So there's been basic machine learning in a lot of these tools for quite some time. At BMC, we were actually quite ahead of the curve in terms of generative AI and large language models. So if you've used things like proactive problem management and the incident clustering in ITSM, that was actually driven off large language model technology, even before ChatGPT kind of exploded onto the scene. So we have been using that kind of technology in generative AI technology for a good few years now to do things for problem teams, for example, who might struggle to pick out the best priorities, the biggest noise from a large number of incidents. And that's something that AI was. We really recognize the potential of AI to make people's jobs a lot easier like that. Now, of course, we're in this massive era of generative AI is becoming agentic AI. This is probably the biggest change for all of us in our workplaces, because now we can see this AI can actually take roles alongside our teams. It can be more autonomous. It can plan actions in response to situations and execute on them. We don't see this necessarily as this isn't primarily about replacing people in service and operations management environments. To be honest, enterprises and technology are so complex. There's always huge importance on humans and teams. what we're doing is helping those experts to use their expertise more often with this technology, and that's some of the exciting things you'll see today. And we are seeing a lot of people committing to their organizations and to their customers significant savings. This is a genuine, we could do more for our customers with less by implementing these technologies well. Well is an important point, and you'll see that as we go through. Behind all this, actually, that we have to recognize some of the problems we're looking to solve with this, because I've been around service management and operations management myself a long time. I'm sure many of you have. There has never been more complexity in enterprise technology. We've moved from a history where when I started my career, the server was running the application and the server was a metal box in a cupboard in the corner of the office with flashing lights on, and you could go in, and if the service needed rebooting, you could open the door and reboot the server physically. And then we might have a database server, and those stacks were quite simple, and each application was relatively simple. Of course, now we're in a highly interconnected era. We have very, very distributed systems, APIs, we have cloud technologies linking to on-premise technologies and very hybridized systems. And if you think, if I do something simple like change my airline seat or move money from one bank account to another, as the customer, I'm doing that very, very simply through a very simple interface, but I'm still unleashing a huge amount of workflows and interactions behind the scenes. And part of the challenge is our teams aren't growing. So the complexity is growing, but our teams aren't growing. So without checking that, we will see more and more risk in change. We'll see more and more complexity in resolving issues. Complex systems will always find new ways to fail. The holes in the Swiss cheese will line up in different combinations. So we still need that human insight, that human ingenuity to continue to to be able to fix problems, to resolve issues with our systems. As I say, we're not growing at the pace of that complexity, so we have to grow our skills instead. So our philosophy at Helix, well, we know enterprises. One of the reasons we're here is we work with some of the biggest companies in the world, and we understand that complexity. We understand that many of you work in regulated companies. We understand many of you are working in companies that are merging and acquiring and pulling technologies together. So we have a basis of understanding that technology. And when we look at OpsSwarmer today, whoops, that's a technology fail. I've just managed to, my camera has fallen off my machine. Ever the professional. Hopefully that will hold up. So we have so that, I beg your pardon. So yeah, we understand your organizations. We understand the complexity. We also understand that many of you are having to transform into this new world. So what we're showing you today is some of the ways we can really pragmatically help you to work with these new complexities, these new ways of working that are emerging, less about silos and processes, rigid processes, more about teamwork. And to help you do that, we're going to show also how the Helix platform is very open first. We've actually been talking in our New York roadshow this week about it's almost an anti-platform for service ops. It's not about rigidity. It's not about monolithic platforms. You can take parts of the Helix technology and begin to use it without necessarily having to rip and replace everything you have. We can work with your existing tools. But importantly, the reason we do that is to give you the ability to quickly work with all your connected data and bring this AI technology to head. And that's where, when we talk about the vision, what we're helping you to do as professionals, what we're passionate about doing is helping you to actually bring your expertise to these processes, to these challenges in ways that you were not able to do previously. And one of the reasons you're not able to do that quite often is simply the constraints of timing and timing and workload. Okay, so when we talk to people out in the world, we hear this so often. There are projects that people can envisage. You're all experienced professionals to one degree or another. There are things you probably know you'd love to be able to do better. But right now, a lot of the workloads of our customers are the more repetitive, the toil, the stuff that's hard to get through, but takes up a lot because it's volume, and it takes up a lot of your time. And it means you're not able to envisage that amazing transformation to your service desk process, or that new change management process that you feel would actually really radically increase your ability to assess risk quickly to support DevOps teams, or operational practices where you're you're being much more proactive rather than reacting to logs and traces and metrics. We see that right across the industry. That's what people want to get to. They want to get to the point where they can work more in that way. So with our AI agents, we're not, as I say, but this isn't about replacing people. This is about giving people much better insights, taking away some of that mundane, repetitive stuff, the early stages of troubleshooting where it's just a question of like trial and error and picking through checklists, and get you to the point where you have, as you see here, you have summarizations of what's going on. You have an idea of root cause because we can identify root causes and bring that to the team to consider next steps. Even when it comes to, bits of automation to run scripts to fix problems, that's stuff that ultimately you know in your head what you want to do, but generating that code can be time consuming. We can do all this and bring it to your teams through the medium of collaboration like Microsoft Teams. And that's part of the point, really. We want to break down silos. We want to help you with that. But importantly, the platform matters. And this was a really important stat that we saw recently where 95% of people in a recent survey agreed that generative AI is only really going to be at peak value when it can see everything. So if you're in an environment where you maybe have one ITSM product and you have other operations tools and you have discovery data coming in and you have traces and metrics coming through application performance management tools, well, there's no point having a generative AI helper, agent, teammate if there's less point if it can't see what everyone else can see. We have to be able to pull that data together in a common platform. And at that point, when you've integrated those things, suddenly AI as a great compressor of all that information can really generate great value for you and help those teams to collaborate. So that's why this vision that we're showing today for OpsSwarmer, it's founded on our platform and the ability to take that platform, unify disparate tools, unify disparate data sets. And that includes, of course, the different data sets inherent in when you have service and operations management practitioners coming together on a complex issue. The service management people are often thinking from the customer inwards about the business services, the SLAs, maybe the changes that have been happening, the incidents coming into the service desk. The operations team more traditionally are looking at parameters like logs and metrics and root cause analysis from the technology side. Well, having one platform that brings all that together and then creating AI agents that can work with your teams and answer questions and enable those people to investigate and drill into those insights. That's the vision we're showing here. And that will be what's realized when we show you the OpsSwarmer in action, which is really, really, as someone like me, for someone like me who's been banging on in the industry about more swarming, more chat ops, more collaboration, to see that now with this unified platform, with that AI technology that can instantly process, harness that data and give you better insights. Very exciting. So that's final, as the final part of this sort of vision pitch, when we talk about BMC Helix these days, we are talking about a highly modular, highly flexible platform for AI built on that understanding of enterprise IT. Okay, we've built on the ability to pull together service operations management data, traces, logs, metrics, customer insights, other data, get it all into one place, but also enable you to deploy it with your own approach to AI and to platforms. So we run on all the major cloud platforms. And importantly, this is a huge differentiator. We're not pushing some proprietary large language model on you that we've sunk a gazillion dollars into, and now we're upping the prices. What we're seeing across the industry is when most vendors start talking AI, the prices suddenly shoot up by 60, 80, 100% because they've got so much sunk cost in doing something that we don't think is the right approach anyway, which is, our approach is the best AI is the one that your enterprise has already signed up with. You've probably got deals with someone, whether it's Copilot, OpenAI, Google. Most companies have got large enterprise deals which cover both the economics and the security and data protection of those that you require. And we work with that. And we bring the value of Helix to that without pushing something proprietary on you that won't adapt as quickly as those, won't scale. And importantly, you won't harness the big cost savings as the cost savings of those models drops radically at a pace that Sam Altman describes as far in excess of the old Moore's law for processors. So exciting times. But now I'm going to hand over to Betty, who's going to tell you, give you some insight into what analysts are saying about us briefly, and then we'll get into more detail on OpsSwarmer. So thanks very much.
Thanks, John. Just a quick check. Sam, can you see my screen and hear me okay?
Yes, we're good.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. It's nice to meet you. If we haven't met you, I'm the product manager for OpsSwarmer. Before diving into exactly what OpsSwarmer is, we want to take a beat on the new Forrester Wave Enterprise Service Management Q4 report that came out earlier this year. For the last 15 years, BMC Helix, we've done a pretty good job of differentiating ourselves, I would say above average, floating around Atlassian, ServiceNow, but as of the latest report that was published, earlier this week, I'm happy to announce that we're ranked above the players in the industry today for IT service ops, right? And for those of you that may or may not be familiar with Forrester, they rank you on two 100% scales. The first one is the current offering. So what is your process, workflow, task management, work collaboration, infrastructure monitoring, low code, no code implementation, analytics? There's about 16 of these. And then the other 100% scale is your strategy. So what is the vision of what you're trying to do, the innovation and the roadmap of where you're getting to? And so they combine the two 100% scales to this diagram that you see before you. And we're very happy and very proud to see BMC Helix ranked as the highest across the board, right? And Forrester summed it up as for BMC strategy, the vision targets a transformative change rather than just increasing productivity. If you read through the report, the link is right there. If you read through the report, I think a lot of the theming around some of the other players are, hey, this capability is great. It increases the productivity for your SRE team, your IT operations team. But for BMC, I think the summary of the transformative change is the difference between that Gen AI, which was kind of the previous stage we were at with AI and machine learning. You also heard about John talk about this just now a little bit, right? Versus the agentic AI. The agentic AI, there's decision making that the AI can do. And we're not talking about, high stakes decision making, but it'll take some time for us to get a little bit comfortable with AIs making all the big decisions. But what we're talking about is more decision making around, hey, if you're conducting an active incident, trying to get to a resolution, who are the SMEs or participants across your organization that may be able to jump on to help? Look at their, the support team that's assigned to that region of maybe the outage that's going on, who's on call even in that region, and making those decisions, hey, if this incident actually looks similar to incident you had troubleshooting in the past, what was the resolution? What were the steps you took to get to that remediation? Those are kind of the decision making we're looking with agentic AI, right? And Forrester had a kind of a summary at the end of the BMC Helix description where it says, for organizations seeking a unified AI-driven platform to manage your complex IT operations, BMC offers a pretty powerful enterprise solution. So that unified AI component, I would say, is a big part of how OpsSwarmer played a key role in having BMC Helix boosted up to the top of the pack in the most recent report. OpsSwarmer, John mentioned it's a Microsoft Teams experience, but on the back end, it actually interacts with your existing fleet of Helix agents. And so, as you're asking OpsSwarmer questions, asking OpsSwarmer to execute tasks, OpsSwarmer does a pretty good job of calling the right agent to fulfill what you're looking to do or asked, right? So that's OpsSwarmer. And I promise we'll dive in deeper with OpsSwarmer. So we have a demo plan for you. Nick's going to show that very shortly. But at its core, OpsSwarmer, you can think of it as a digital teammate that interacts, with your users in Teams. And the primary use case is swarms, but you can certainly use OpsSwarmers for other troubleshooting activities. Like if you are experiencing like a CMDB quality issue, or you're looking through, like some IT assets that may be missing, you can think of it as a kind of a ChatGPT or a Copilot experience, but it has contextual awareness to your IT service management and your AI ops. That's the difference. What that means is you can ask OpsSwarmer all types of incident information questions, right? Ask about the alerts and situations that you're seeing from your AI ops directly in your teams. Ask about support group information. Eventually, we also want to get OpsSwarmer to a place where you can start executing tasks maybe creating a draft of the change request, right, for your remediation steps or so on, creating tasks directly in the Teams interface without you having to contextually switch, having to open that Okta, log into ITSM, and do those tasks. I would say, to sum up what OpsSwarmer is, we're looking to redefine the role that chat interfaces play in active swarms or IT-related issues beyond the passive communications tool that it is today. Before we get into what OpsSwarmer is right now, we'll go into a little bit how OpsSwarmer came to be. So when we were designing and kind of thinking on OpsSwarmer, what this bot should do, we talked to a bunch of design partners, our existing customer base, and one of the key things we heard across the board was that Microsoft Teams and chat interfaces in general, but Microsoft Teams was really the one that stood out across our customer base as the chat collaboration interface of choice, right? It's got SharePoint, it's got the Microsoft Suite behind it, it's got integrations to your Outlook. Your bridges for your incidents, your chats, they're all Microsoft Teams, and that's truly where the team collaborates. And it's the preferred experience for swarms and troubleshooting. The next thing we heard is, this is pretty common across the board, I think even outside of like agentic AI use cases, but breaking down the silos of the tools and processes. You had a call, on Microsoft Teams, and typically how we did it back in the day was someone would take manual notes, right? Now you have Copilot taking the notes, but someone would take notes and then you would log into your ITSM, you will log those notes for tracking, maybe log the resolution and someone to the communication coordinator to kind of take down everything as you go. But with agentic AI, and with OpsSwarmer living in teams, as your team is collaborating, jumping on those calls, OpsSwarmer tries to be smart and tries to be helpful with, hey, let me log, your notes. Let me take down the AI generated notes for you, the action items. Let me capture those, the tasks that we need to do for who into the incident ticket for tracking, right? That's kind of the experience we're looking to build with agentic AI. And last but not least, OpenAI had wowed the world back in late 2022 with their model that really showed it understood what the user was asking for, what the goal was, and that in our context would be, for example, like the troubleshooting an incident, right? Like you're trying to resolve, get to the remediation steps, resolve as soon as possible, and how do you also prevent the outage or disruption from spreading? And so that's kind of the world that we're living in today. And depending on whether your favorite movie is Ex Machina or if how deep you want to debate on the understanding part, we're not talking about the Turing test, but more so understanding that, hey, if a outage has happened, probably one of the first questions you want to ask is, okay, did a change happen recently to cause that outage or disruption? Okay, now as the agentic AI, it can help with looking at the change request that has gone out recently, identify the change coordinator, the change manager, maybe loop them in, with your permission, loop them into the swarm if you need help with it. And not all changes are also documented, right, as change requests. There's also undocumented changes that goes on. Okay, now let me look at the logs to see if there's any changes that we may have missed. That's the kind of agentic AI to help move along towards that remediation for incidents. Now let's take a pause and we'll look at the agents that OpsSwarmer currently interacts with. So you'll see across the board, ITSM, AIOps, we have some agents of our own, like the Microsoft Teams agent, as well as the participant recommendation agents. A key thing you might notice is in the participant recommendation side, you'll see some third parties. If you have PagerDuty or XMatters, we certainly use OpsSwarmer internally as well. We have it integrated with our XMatters. That's how it gets the on-call schedules for your support group. I promise we're almost at Nick's demo, so you can see firsthand what OpsSwarmer is capable of. But I think 3 key things to keep in mind for OpsSwarmer before we jump into the demo is that OpsSwarmer is a Microsoft Teams application. So you do have to create a bot on the Microsoft Teams side and then link it to your HelixGPT, Agent Studio, ITSM, AIOps. But that integrated experience breaks down the silos of kind of what you're doing today across the different systems. It's for troubleshooting issues. Swarms and incidents are the primary use case. And that hence, OpsWarmer works with group chats and meeting chats. Whereas I think for agents like Copilot, you can't really have that in a group chat. For Copilot, it's more of a one-on-one experience. So that's another key differentiator with OpsWarmer. Bring it into your swarm, your group chat, and you can, ask questions. For all permissions are of your ITSM and AIOps systems are at play when you do bring OpsWarmer into a group chat. So authorized actions by the individual can be carried out in teams as well. And last but not least, we kind of really hit the home run on the last point. It interacts with your existing fleet of agents. So you don't have to think about logging to your ITSM for this use case, logging to your AIOps to look at the log insights or do a deep root cause analysis. HelixGPT would interact with these agents on the back end and bring that information to you right in Teams. All right, without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Nick to show you firsthand what OpsWarmer is capable of.
All right. Thank you, Betty. I appreciate it. All right. And my name is Nicholas Owen. I'm part of the solutions engineering team here at BMC Software. And I'm going to be walking through what OpsWarmer is, how it works, and really the value that it provides to your team across the whole organization, whether it is operations or whether it is service management. My side monitor is right over here. So I am going to be looking over this way with my camera on. But as we do, you should be seeing my screen. And Betty, can you confirm we can see my screen just fine?
Yep, looks good.
Perfect. So as we get started, we're going to be taking a look at a major incident in BMC Helix. When we go in, we see, okay, there's a major incident. If we scroll down, we can see, okay, we can see the team with whether it's the support group, whether it's from the major incident group, as well as the communication coordinator. And this is really important because there are going to be people that are relevant to a major incident that are going to be communicating to people that don't need to be in the war room or the resolution room, but they do need to be aware of what's going on. So this is a key person in this. And we can see our audit trail right over here for how this incident is evolving over time. And if we take it back to the beginning, we can see, all right, at its core, this incident was created and it was also automatically assigned by HelixGPT to the right people and the right support group. So as we're going to take a look at how event management flows into this and helps drive this, and really how operations and service management work together towards a resolution, we can see that L1 triage is nearly taken care of for us, eliminating time and effort on your behalf. So let's take a look. We see over on the right-hand side the probable cause node. As mentioned earlier, let's eliminate the time for the root cause analysis. We can find that root cause and we can put it in layman's terms so that way we can get it resolved. To do that, we're going to take a look right out of our incident form, probable cause nodes. We're going to launch into what we call service monitoring, a different section of the Helix platform that holds the hand of service management. This is where operations tends to live. We want to take a look at that probable cause node, and we can see right over here. Here's our causal node, and not just our causal node, but also the downstream impact of everything that it affects. We can get details on how it was found to be that causal node, and we can see right over here, there were different events coming in from our network monitoring solution. So Netrio, for example, is letting me know, hey, there's a port utilization error on this network device. Due to that port utilization error, we can see exactly what it's affecting. We can see our health timeline right up here, and we can take it back. Let's take it back 12 hours. And we can see from where it went from green to orange to red with the map right up here. So to Betty's point, we want to know if a change was done, when that incident was created, what is driving this issue. And then as these events start to get piled up, they get correlated into what we call a situation. So we can analyze the situations right down here, and we can see there's two very distinct issues, but they got correlated into two different scenarios. The Apex Online log interface. Let's get some more details on that. HelixGPT is not just going to let me know, okay, here's an issue, let's get it routed to the right person. We want to have it go further, have it drive towards that resolution as well. So if we're taking a look at exactly what came in and what was going wrong, we can see right up here, in layman's terms, this is what happened, this is whom it affects, and really, this is how we can get it towards a resolution. Here's the incident ID that was created on your behalf. And then here's a fingerprint of everything that happened along the way. Here's our causal node, and we can see what events came in and what pieces of infrastructure that it went ahead and it had an impact on. But I believe it was mentioned earlier by John that the best UI is no UI, or the best UI is Gen AI. And what we mean by that, and I'm going to cross launch back into the incident, is that we want to be able to empower the people on your service desk, your operations, really whomever, to work in the screens that they're most natively on. Now, if you could see what I'm seeing, I have multiple monitors. One has Teams open 24/7. It does that because I'm always on Teams, much like many of you. So if your users are on Teams, why not allow them to continue to stay on Teams and drive collaboration through that and provide an agent that can go through with reasoning and be able to act as that intermediary between themselves and BMC Helix. So that way it can push and pull information without having to alt tab, copy, paste, search, do all those items that do take time. Allow the agent to do that work for you. And right here we have our ops swarmer. We have our 3 people down below that we saw, and we want to add them into the war room. We can either search by support group or person to add additional, or it intelligently picks the correct people for us, and we click launch. Now, when we go ahead and do that, we get out a full screen here. It creates a Microsoft Teams thread for us, renames the name to the incident ID as well as the incident title, so that way we know exactly what we're working on. It auto adds the users that I specified directly into the chat, as well as brings in HelixGPT. Now, if at any point maybe somebody was brought in and they want to get caught up, as mentioned, we can use HelixGPT, the OpsWarmer agent. Let's say, please give me details on this incident, to be able to get them caught up on not just the details of this incident, but also what's going on in the work log. So that way they can see this is what happened, but also this is what's being done. And we can use HelixGPT to not just pull the information, so we can see the details right up here, but also the highlights. But we can also use it to push the information. So if you remember, there's people that care about what happens with this incident that don't necessarily need to be in this room, and we can keep them updated without leaving Teams. So we add a work log note that Nick, Liam, and Seth were on this. We are consistently working. But we mentioned earlier, we want this to be an area where services and operations can work hand in hand. So we have that work note added, and we also saw, okay, this incident was opened by an event that came in that created a situation. Let's view the details of that before or without even leaving Teams. We want to have HelixGPT provide us the summary, as well as start to give us the root cause, as well as generate a diagram so we can see that probable cause node and what it's affecting, all without leaving Teams. So we can see, and we always have the link, 1 for verification, so we know it's not a hallucination, but 2, so we can easily cross-launch if we ever would need to. But with one simple command, we now have our root cause summary, root cause classification, our situation summary on exactly what went wrong, and our probable cause node, what it's affecting. That's all really powerful information as we drive towards that resolution. And if we ever want to get steps on how to get to that resolution and steps that we need to take, HelixGPT can give that to us as well. So we ask it. We'll say, get a best action plan. What do we need to do to be able to remedy this situation? We want to have 5 or 6 succinct steps to be able to handle that. And it's going to give it to us along with specific tasks along the way. There we go. Here's 7 steps. So even one more than what we asked for. From detect and confirm, correlate, validate the impact, check for recent changes, remediate, verify, and then document. So from start to finish, it gives us the roadmap on how to get this resolved. Now we move forward with these steps, we collaborate. That is great. We get towards step task 7. Okay, now we need to just document what went wrong. And this is an area where when I talk with many customers, their postmortem analysis could use some work, if we're being honest. It is either cumbersome and takes significantly more time and effort than they would like it to be, or they're just not doing it at all. And this is a huge gap, and we want to be able to get that remedied for our customers. So we want to make it easier, and we want to have HelixGPT do the work. So get 5 whys analysis. We want to know why this happened, so that way we can prevent it from happening again. And then we can make that into actionable data. We can use that information to act in a preventative way. So HelixGPT is going to take a look at exactly what went wrong, what it affected, and be able to give us that information. So here's our full postmortem analysis, our incident ID, the service that it impacted, situation ID, how long this happened for, our situation summary, our root cause, our problem statements, even our category, and the reasoning on how it came to this conclusion. Once again, all powerful information generated without much, if any, manual effort outside of me issuing the command. That then it comes nicely formatted that can be either with, like we saw earlier, a simple command added to the work log note in the incident, or copied and pasted out into whatever format your processes need. And then at the very end of it, we're going to ask HelixGPT, thank you, and please close this incident. Now that we've done our postmortem, we can even close this incident without leaving Microsoft Teams. And not only does it close this incident, but it'll also go through and pick the correct resolved status reason based off of the work that we've done, as well as communicate with another agent, as Betty mentioned, communicating with different agents to drive one common goal. It's going to communicate with another agent to generate a resolution note on our behalf to fill that in the incident. And now all of that information can be used to either create knowledge or to go ahead and prevent this from happening in the future. Now, with that concludes my portion of the demo, and I'm going to pass it back to Betty.
Thanks, Nick. Let me just grab the screen share. We hope from Nick's demo, you were able to see the value proposition for your SR team, your support team, your folks from the front lines who are dealing with incidents or troubleshooting, IT-related issues. And the benefit of agentic AI is we know that it scans and processes information much faster than us humans. And the fact that we have an inventory of these past incidents, right? Proven contributions from remediation steps, from SMEs that contributed to the resolution of the incident. That's a treasure trove of knowledge, tribal knowledge that's kind of built up today, and let the agentic AI ops swarmer take lead on surfacing the right information to the right people at the right time. The next section of this demo, this session, will go over highlighting some of the features from customer feedback that we've been getting pretty positive feedback on, sentiment on. The first one is voice call summary. So this voice call summary is a 25.4 GA, already available for customers with the 25.4 version, and they're loving the ability to summarize, identify key action items, key topic discussions. It provides you with the context that you need to add it to the work log. And that's about breaking down the silos that we talked about earlier, right? Like instead of you having to log, or I don't know about you, but I have about 45 tabs probably on my computer at all times, shifting through, trying to find the right tab to add the work log. Do it in Microsoft Teams, right? Like ask OpsSwarmer, the bot, to do it for you. It's already connected to your ITSM incident ticket. So the voice call summary, I think it was a low-hanging fruit for us to introduce to the market, but it's definitely one of the more popular features that we see customers using. And the key difference with Copilot, we know Copilot does a pretty good summarization of your calls and maybe your chat interface as well of the swarm, but it doesn't have that integration with your ITSM, your AIOps systems. So that's the key difference to keep in mind. The change analysis is another big one. I think, the biggest thing is about that agentic piece, where not only does it show you the summary of how this change came to be, the intention behind this change, who was behind this change, what, when, why, how, but also that additional step of, maybe it didn't find any change that could be related to the service disruption, but it's important to also look at logs, and there's different places that different customer stores logs, but also knowing where to look at logs to identify any potential causations of, the issue that you may be troubleshooting, because the change isn't always documented as a change request, right? Participant recommendation, this goes into identifying the right SMEs from past incidents with proven contributions, and also looking at who the CMDB, CI, and services owners are, trying to identify those change managers, change coordinators that may have pushed out something that impacted the situation you're looking at. It's about identifying the right people at the right time, and also taking into account their availability schedules, right? While it's recommending that piece over to you. For these features, the features that we just went over, those are already GA, by the way, especially on the latest 25.4 release that happened recently. These next 4 features are on the roadmap, just to give you an idea of what we're building towards to. New participant briefing is when someone new gets looped in to the swarm, closely tied with the participant recommendation, right? Like, hey, I recommended maybe these 6 people that could be a good fit for the incident that you're trying to remediate at the moment. Okay, great. 3 of these checks out. You ask OpsWarmer to loop them into the swarm. That's already available. Now, the next step of that is when you loop in new people, they don't always have the background or context to the incident. Like, even dealing with permissions sometimes is a bit of a headache, right? They don't always have permissions to the incident ticket or the context, let alone the progress of the swarm so far. And sometimes swarm teams take a step back in catching up the new folks, right, to the progress of the swarm, what you're discussing at the moment. And so let OpsWarmer do that. OpsWarmer has been your digital teammate across the swarm so far. It has that incident context. When you loop in a new participant into the swarm, OpsWarmer can one-on-one send the information over to your new participants to just give them a nice FYI message, right? Hey, this is the incident ticket we're looking at. This is the situation. Some of those details you see on the screen are AI generated, just a summary of what the incident is and what's happened so far. This is what the team really needs you for, right? And you can also ask, as a new participant, ask questions in the one-on-one swarm with OpsWarmer. Get up to speed, and your first touch point with the rest of the swarm group is, you already have the background. And the important thing is that the entire team continues to move forward towards the incident. We also have interactive best action plan. Try saying that 5 times fast. What that is executing actions within Microsoft Teams. That's kind of what we alluded to in the beginning of this webinar, right? We not only should you be asking questions, OpsWarmer getting the information from you from ITSM or AIOps through Log Analyzer or CMDB Governor, whatever agent on the back end, but also allowing you to execute actions. Like, for example, the best action plans that, your SRE folks and the SMEs probably have a good idea of what the best actions are to remediate this, especially if they've been involved on, similar incidents in the past, or they're one of the more tenured folks on your team. But it's always good to have that double check with OpsWarmer, right? That suggests to you what the remediation action plans are. And on top of giving you the steps, let OpsWarmer kick off, if you have to do an emergency change or emergency rollback for maybe this service disruption, let OpsWarmer allow you to execute that, maybe even, draft up the change, that emergency change request for tracking directly in Microsoft Teams. Persona context, one of those, I would say, low-hanging fruits, like easier to do, but like we anticipate this to be one of the more exciting features. Customers seem to light up when we talk about this. Is, we know that across different team members, you have your executives, your VPs, right, versus your frontline folks, the SRE folks, the SMEs that you're looping in to help resolve the swarm. They require very different context to the swarm. And so if your VP or executive is asking, hey, what's the progress on the swarm? Like, what are the next steps, right? It's probably a very different level of detail that you will provide to your executive versus your kind of frontline folks, the SRE folks that are actually executing on that front. So we have persona aware context that we're looking to build into OpsWarmer. And when you ask for an executive summary, it's going to give a very high level, concise overview of the swarm progress maybe so far, include the high level remediation steps and a tracker for your executive, right? And of course, you approve it first before sending it to your executives. So that's the kind of where we're going with the persona aware context for OpsWarmer responses. Last but not least, proactive notifications. This is an easy one to think of. So, as your day-to-day goes on and your AIOps is detecting anomalies or, similar situations where it led to maybe a service disruption or outage in the past. Maybe it's an annual thing, right? Like a Black Friday or back to school, or depending on the industry space you're in. You may have alerts already set up, but also pinging you in Microsoft Teams if that's your preferred place to get these notifications. And once it sends you that information, it's a conversational, interactive agent, right? You can ask OpsWarmer questions about this alert you're getting. What is this for? Have I seen this before? Are there similar situations like this in the past? What did we do? Who was involved? Just some of the conversations you can have. With that, I think we're at the end of our webinar. If you are interested in OpsWarmer, and I think this is a really good time to consider implementing OpsWarmer into your organization, because as of 25.4 release, there's no proactive component to OpsWarmer at the moment. It's more so reactive. So in the sense that your SRE team, your support team, they can tag OpsWarmer for questions or to mostly retrieve information. They can add notes to work log to ITSM without having to leave Teams. So these feature functionality that Nick showed, it's a pretty good passive way to do a soft launch within your organization. Start introducing, getting your folks used to that agentic AI component. It can also record the voice call summary that we talked about, the chat swarm summary, log into the work log, right? So it's kind of easing your folks into it. And then we're probably looking at later in the year, like 26.2, to do the proactive notifications. But again, that will probably have flexibility with you wanting to turn on the proactive notifications for your organization. So I think this is a good time for you to think about implementing OpsWarmer into your organization. We're also pretty young. We're on our third release, right? So what we're looking for is customer feedback, and it gives you a great chance, if you already have OpsWarmer implemented, getting your feedback to influence our roadmap and maybe make improvements to the existing experience today. So highly recommend turning on OpsWarmer. If this webinar has created some interest within your organization, reach out to your customer success manager. So reach out to your customer success manager and your Helix adoption advisor. We can also set up a one-on-one session to get OpsWarmer set up with you. We have other options with documentation that's step-by-step showing you how to configure the Microsoft Teams bot, right? The keys that you link to HelixGPT. We also have step-by-step videos coming very shortly. So that's our call to action. And with that, thank you for having us. And I hope you enjoyed this session. I'll pass it back over to Sam.
Yeah, Betty, we've been quite busy on the questions. Actually, I don't know if we've got, did we have our last slides with the roadshow? If we haven't, I'll just mention that very quickly. I know I keep plugging all our Helix roadshows. If you haven't already been, I know we had New York last week. We have got Madrid and we've got Frankfurt coming up next week, because I know we're still at the time where we've probably got Europeans on this call today. In fact, I have seen a few already asking questions. So if you can make it out to Madrid and Frankfurt, we'd love to see you. And then our final roadshow is going to be in Mexico, and that's on November the 25th. Whilst these digital events are great because we get to speak to you and we can get things out really quickly, I would highly recommend the opportunity to go and meet with some of the customer success team. We've got our product leaders, we've got our product managers, we've got marketing, so lots of people you can see, and most importantly the networking side. So we'd love to see you there. There are a lot more webinars coming up. I also put out a poll earlier. If you haven't done it yet, if you can get the chance just quickly to fill it in, that also leads quite nicely to what Betty has just shared with the call to action and with the adoption specialists. And actually, we do have Hugo on today. His team work very closely with me on all of the agent workshops, which some of you have probably been joining. We obviously want to start helping you to implement some of these other features that we've got. So if you do require any more assistance, do use that email address or pop something into the poll as well. So that's the other thing I just wanted to mention. I have started to unmute everyone as well. We do have a few minutes left. I'm really impressed you've done it by record time. When I have more than one presenter, it's really difficult. I normally have to step in and say, we haven't got any time left. So I'm really impressed with yourself, John, and Nicholas for getting through it, Betty, very quickly. But I would like to give the audience now some time. If you've got any questions, come off mute. We've obviously had a few in the Q&A, which I'll share out with you. And I will also be sharing out the recording and any of the content from today. So just going to start unmuting everyone, which I've now done. While I'm also doing that, just to give people a chance to think, thank you, Betty, for moving to the next slide. Gartner is also, we work very closely with and partner. We've obviously spoken about Forrester today. Some of you may have already seen this at some of the road shows. If you do have any feedback, it is independent to us, but obviously we would love to get your feedback straight direct to Gartner. There is a QR code that you can scan today, or you can take this away at some point and use the QR code link that's also in the attached presentation slide as well. And if you're successful and your survey gets published, then you will get a gift card directly from Gartner. Okay. That's everything covered. And Betty, I saw you were answering the last question from Michael. Do you want to take that one live? I know Michael often will speak to us live. I could see you were just starting to type.
Sure, yeah. Mike was just asking if there's a chance of getting a workshop for OpsFormer like we did with Insight Finder. Absolutely. It's the same team that will walk you through the personalized workshop and can even help you set up OpsFormer if you want to take it there. So I reshared the slide with the how to get that workshop session. Contact your customer success manager or feel free to email, at success@.
Yeah, and we do actually have Hugo on. He's probably not expecting me to ask him to unmute himself, but Hugo, if you're brave enough to come off of mute, obviously it's your team that work with me on the workshops. We will add it to the series as soon as we've got that available. So I don't know if you wanted to say anything extra.
No, just happy to help out anywhere we can through our team. As you know, we've done the Insight Finder workshops along with Service Collaborators. So now we're spawning into the OpsFormer Agentic AI as well. So again, as Betty said, if you have a dedicated CSM, reach out to them and they will coordinate with my team to get you up and running. If you don't have a dedicated CSM, just reach out to success@bmc.com and somebody there will take that email and then send over the request to our team. And again, we'll link up with you and help you get started.
Thank you. I thought why we've got the opportunity. I saw you'd snuck in. Okay. So I don't see any other questions that have come in, but if anyone does have questions, obviously raise your hand. And obviously, Betty, was there anything else just in general, or John, that you want to cover, and also Rohit, that we may have missed off, or things that you feel are really important to just finally give a CTA additional to this, sending us an email for the adoption advisor team? Is there anything else you wanted to cover?
Maybe just very quickly on the same slide I'm showing, I linked the documentation for all the HelixGPT AI agents. I assume we might be sharing this deck with the attendees of this meeting. So feel free to take a look at the HelixGPT offering as a whole.